Start. So I want to welcome you ladies to today's online workshop about hormone health. And the workshop is designed to help you naturally fuel your body, whether you are navigating perimenopause or fertility challenges or managing thyroid conditions. There are so many different things. Our wonderful speaker today is Casey J, a certified fitness and hormone health coach. And Casey has prepared some slides, so she will share her screen, but feel free to obviously put anything in the chat. I love the activity in there already. So if you have any questions, pop it in there. I'll keep my eye on it as well. But if anything gets missed, we'll obviously come back with having Q&A at the end. So the talk will be around 30 to 45 minutes, and then we'll make sure we have Q&A at the end. So I hope you enjoy it, ladies, and Casey, over to you.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for the intro. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to talk all things on hormone health today. While I share my screen, I'd love for everyone to do a nice little icebreaker and let me know in the group chat maybe what you're looking forward to about today, or kind of what question or questions might be something you want answered. That would be great. I also know that hormone health can be quite personal, or personal. So just whatever you feel comfortable posting in the chat, and that would be nice. I can come back to it towards the end, or we might even touch base on it today. And I'll just share my lovely screen. Amazing. Oh, there we go. Everyone can see that?
Yep, you can see it.
Amazing. Okay, perfect. All right, well, let's get started. So welcome to my hormone health workshop. So today I'm going to go through a few slides. I'm going to talk about an agenda, etc. But the main thing is, the purpose of today is I want to engage, educate, and empower all those that are on the call today, and all those that are maybe watching it back at a later date. And then I also want to go through some really important numbers and some powerful statistics that are out there about women and their hormones. So let's go through them. So these three here, we've got 63% of adults experience stress weekly, 80% of women suffer from hormone imbalances, and then we have 59% of those women are negatively impacted at work due to symptoms, which is quite a staggering number. And then some other stats which you may or may not know is, oh, there we go. Women who suffer hormone conditions and or menopause cost the corporate industry millions. And the reason why this happens is because it is common for women to lose or quit their job due to depression or feeling unmotivated when going through some of these symptoms. It is also common for women to go through 2 to 3 doctors before they find someone who listens to them and understands them. And it also, women who are going through menopause in the workplace, it is the fastest growing demographic in the workforce. So it is really important that we all know our own bodies, but we're all compassionate about other people and other women going through their hormone imbalances as well. Menopausal symptoms can last 4 to 12 years, which is quite a large chunk of our life, sometimes longer. And then I'm a certified hormone health coach. So I'm here to bridge the gap. So I'm here to engage, educate, and empower. This is one part of a 4-part workshop series. So today we're going to focus on hormone imbalances and conditions. We're going to touch base on stress management and nutrition. But I usually do offer these in a 4-part series, just so you know, there's so much information out there. But let's get stuck into it. So welcome, and we've done our hormone health workshop and communities. And then the next part, I'm going to go a little bit about me as well as my business. And I think that's important because I've suffered my own list of hormone imbalances, and that's what got me into hormone coaching. So I think it's important, and it might wave some red flags for those that might be experiencing some similar symptoms at the moment as well. We're also going to talk about where my expertise sits and how I can help you, and when you should maybe seek medical advice or medical attention. We'll talk about hormone imbalances and conditions, as I mentioned, and we'll really look at the impacts of stress and how that affects us, and some ways that we can manage or reduce stress as well. And then we'll look at how we can improve hormone balance through nutrition and stress. And then I can chat about how I can further help you, your community, or business, depending on where you may need help in the future. And then we've got more time for questions. But definitely throughout this, if you have any questions, definitely just pop a little wave in the chat with your question below it. So then I can see that when that comes through. But otherwise, a little bit about me. Don't worry too much about the screen. I've just got this on more about what I offer, but I want to just chat about me. So I've been in the industry for 15 years. I've started off as a dancer, did Pilates, personal training, group exercise, etc. It's only in the last 4 to 5 years I've begun my own personal training and hormone health business. I am a certified fitness coach and hormone health coach. And then what got me into hormone health specifically is because a few years back, I suffered chronic burnout and chronic stress. And then with that, I suffered a whole bunch of symptoms that were quite debilitating at the time, which is why I'm so passionate about it now, because there's so many things that I didn't know that I wish I knew that helped me immediately feel better and immediately improve and continue improving. So that's why I'm so passionate about this. So I'm going to go through why I suffered that chronic burnout and chronic stress. I think it's important because a lot of the time when we don't know we're feeling stressed. There is, the society culture of like, just push on, keep going, keep moving. But I think it's important to share my experience because it might wave some red flags in your life. And it also might help you reflect and maybe make some changes to help address that stress, because a lot of the time it's too late when we're already at that chronic burnout or chronic stress phase. And it's kind of, our body's already shutting down. So it's good to kind of acknowledge that you might be stressed. It's important to start working on things, improving certain areas of your life. And hopefully you don't reach that chronic burnout or chronic stress part, or even, with other conditions or other imbalances, reaching those exasperated symptoms, which are really hard to deal with on a daily basis. So some of the things that I went through when I ended up in this period of chronic stress or chronic burnout is, unfortunately, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he ended up passing away within the 12 months, and it was quite stressful for me and my family. I moved to the UK, which was exciting, but also very scary. I had no family, friends, or community here. I don't know if you can hear an accent, but I am Australian. And then I ended up quitting a toxic job. And then I had no job, and this happened in the pandemic. So with that, job insecurity and financial insecurity, which was hard. I started my own business. For those who run their own business or have small businesses, that's hard in itself, but to do it in a pandemic, I'm sure for most people it was quite stressful. I moved house 10 times within a 2-year period, just because of a series of unfortunate events, but that caused me a lot of stress. And then one of the last big ones was that I was unable to get home for 2.5 years during that pandemic period. And that was because Australia shut the borders. So I didn't see my family or some of my closest friends for 2.5 years. I know a lot of people are on the same boat, and I'm sure a lot of people can understand that was quite tough as well. But some of the symptoms, which might start to ring some bells for those that are listening today or listening back, that I experienced during this time, there was a long list of them, and they were, like I said, quite debilitating. The first one was extreme fatigue, so struggling to get out of bed. I needed naps every day. My partner would be like, "Why are you so tired?" I'm like, "I just need a nap." Symptoms of depression, so just low mood, not feeling motivated, being negative or more pessimistic than usual. I'm quite an optimistic person, so seeing that shift as well. Insomnia, so that's waking up during the night and not being able to get back to sleep. Hot flashes, irregular periods, strong or severe PMS, heart palpitations, chronic yeast infections, chronic UTIs, just to name a few. I still had more than that, but they're kind of the main ones. And then through lots of research, lots of exploring, lots of doctor's appointments, I knew it was associated with hormones, but I couldn't quite piece it together. And this will come up later. It's important to know that with hormone imbalances or conditions, you can have multiple imbalances or conditions at one time. So sometimes that makes it a little gray, a little confusing, because you don't know where to start or what area to address first. So we're going to bring that up again later, but just to note it now. And then, as you saw at the start of this presentation as well, is that a lot of women, especially women who go to doctors to find more about their symptoms, it usually takes 2 to 3 appointments, or sometimes switching doctors 2 to 3 times to actually find someone that listens to you and hears you, and then gives you sound advice that you can take away and start implementing in your daily life. So that can be quite frustrating if you're having any of these symptoms or experiencing some of these imbalances. So it was here where I found this hormone health coaching course, and I completed it. I was certified and I absolutely loved the course. It was so empowering. I learned so much and I was so passionate about sharing this because there's so much that we can do naturally on a day-to-day basis that can help minimize or completely remove symptoms that you may be having. And you don't have to live feeling debilitated or feeling this way for much longer. There's so much we can do. And, previously with my own clients, I've helped clients with infertility, helped clients with thyroid issues, PCOS, estrogen dominance, perimenopause, menopause, etc. So I have helped a whole list of clients and they've all been seen positive results, which has been really amazing. Now, on all of that note, I'm going to switch to the next slide. So you'll see on the screen, there's a table and it says common symptoms associated with hormone imbalances and conditions. I would love everyone just to take a few minutes to have a look through these and just mentally circle or make notes of some of these symptoms that you may be experiencing now or have experienced in the past. Keep a tally and then post a number that you end up with in the group chat so we can see them coming through. Once again, I also know this is quite personal. I don't want you to mention which ones you're having. But yeah, if you want to do a little tally, that might be a nice group activity to do. And I'll give you a few minutes for that. If any of them don't make sense, you're unsure, once again, just pop it in the group chat. If no one knows what melasma is, it's skin discoloration on your face. I'm quite a freckly person, but if you look up close, I've got this would be a type of melasma on my forehead. Thank you for posting those. Great. And I'm just seeing some of the things that they'd like to know for today as well. Yeah. And so with some of the things, we won't touch too much on perimenopause, but definitely the advice I give today will help with symptoms. And then for the next one, talking about less clinical intervention, that's what today is all about, things we can do on a naturally on a day-to-day basis. But amazing. Thank you everyone for popping them through. So the purpose of this activity is just to give you insight into symptoms associated with hormone imbalances and conditions. Now, this table is only 1/3 of them. So we've got actually another 2 full lists of symptoms that are commonly associated with imbalances and conditions. And a lot of people, especially women, we grow up or we live every day thinking that these symptoms are normal. These symptoms aren't normal, they're common. And I'm here to show people and to tell people that you don't have to live day to day with a lot of these symptoms. Nutrition, stress management, exercise, other lifestyle factors can help minimize or remove these. But thank you for participating in that activity. So we'll move on and we'll learn a bit more about the different hormone imbalances and the different hormone conditions. So if you look at the screen, you'll see the bold colors. There's 4 different types of hormone imbalances. You've got cortisol, thyroid, female hormone, and blood sugar. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the time we may not just have one, we actually have multiple imbalances within the different categories at one time. So that's also what makes it quite dynamic, quite complex. And sometimes individually it's hard to kind of figure out what's going on. But we'll start with cortisol. So you'll see that there's high and low cortisol. The most common one that you'll hear about is the high cortisol. So that's associated with your chronic burnout, your chronic stress, inflammation. And then you've got your low thyroid. That's associated with Hashimoto's or just having a sluggish thyroid. And then the female hormones we have are low progesterone. So that's commonly associated with perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, same as low estrogen. Then you've got estrogen dominance and excess or low androgens as well. And androgens testosterone is a form of androgen, just in case you didn't know that. And then blood sugar imbalances. Insulin resistance is the most common one, but insulin resistance can lead to metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. So if for some reason you sit in those two, nutrition and other things that we can be doing day to day can really help kind of minimize the symptoms associated with those. And then we have hormone conditions. Now, hormone conditions and hormone imbalances are different. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg. We don't know which one came first. So sometimes it can be hormone imbalances are causing the hormone conditions, or sometimes vice versa. I've listed 6 here, but there's 12 to 15 different hormone conditions. Once again, I've listed ones that are commonly known or commonly heard about. So we've got polycystic ovaries, which is the PCOS. We've got hyper or hyperthyroidism. So once again, that's like your Hashimoto's, your low or high thyroid. Adrenal fatigue, that's burnout. You've got your PMS or your PMDD. So your PMDD is severe PMS. It can be quite debilitating. A lot of people will take quite strong medication to get through those periods when they're feeling that. Then we've got endometriosis as well, and then infertility on the end there. Now, let's just touch base on these on a deeper level. There we go. Move my screen so I can see it better. So I've picked 4 again of different types of hormone imbalances just to go through symptoms and causes. And as I go through these, I would love for you to just see if there's some common themes that are popping up, write it down, or once again, mentally note it. And we're going to come back to it once we've gone through it. So the first one is high cortisol. That's because it's quite common. Now, some of the common symptoms we feel are feeling wide and tired, and that can be kind of struggling to get to sleep or waking up during the night wide awake. We've got increased belly fat or stubborn belly fat around that lower abdominal area. You've got sugar cravings, so, having sugar cravings in that afternoon or that late evening. High blood sugar, and also decreased fertility. And then some of the causes are chronic stress, extreme dieting, and food allergies and or sensitivities. And then the next one we have is low thyroid. And I also should note as well, I've listed 5 or 6 symptoms within each hormone imbalance, but there are maybe 10 to 15 in each bracket. But once again, I've just tried to keep it simple today, so it's easy to remember and easy to digest. But the low thyroid, dry skin and hair loss, brittle nails, cold hands and feet, sensitivity to cold, and fatigue. Now, when I was going through all my hormone issues myself, my hands and feet were always freezing. And I always wearing multiple layers wherever I went, even in like the summer, even in Australia. People were like, what is going on? And I never thought twice about it, just thought, I'm cold. But that's something to note as well. If you're feeling that way, it might be a sign that your thyroid's a bit sluggish. And then you'll see the causes there are stress, nutrient deficiencies, and Hashimoto's. Then we have estrogen dominance. Some of the common symptoms are severe PMS, menstrual migraines, depression, brain fog, bloating, and fibroids. And once again, some of the causes are stress, excess body fat, excessive alcohol. Then the last one is insulin resistance, sugar cravings, sleepiness after meals. We've also got stubborn belly fat around the lower abs, or belly fat in general. And then we've got brain fog and fatigue. And then some of the causes are obesity, diet, stress, and inflammation. And then we'll move on to hormone conditions. Once again, I've picked 3. I picked 3 that are quite common or I come across quite often with my own clients. So PCOS symptoms include depression, anxiety, fatigue, food sensitivities, constipation, and lowered libido. Causes are stress and nutrient deficiencies. Adrenal fatigue, remember that's burnout. We've got fatigue, bloating, irritability, headaches, breast tenderness, or cramping. The cramping is not just associated with your cycle, it can kind of be mid-cycle as well. And then we've got stress, nutrient deficiencies again. And then infertility. It's quite obvious, this one, lack of ovulation, inability to conceive. And once again, it can be associated with stress, low body fat or weight, obesity. And what's really important is that it can be associated to thyroid disease and dysfunction. A few clients I have had who have been struggling with pregnancy. We've addressed their thyroid, and it's made a huge difference to them and their life and how they're feeling. So based off all of that, do we see any common themes? And if we do, pop it in the group chat and we'll see what gets said. Anyone? Common themes? Oh, hang on, there we go. Yes, perfect. So exactly what was said, stress and nutrition. So you can see why at the start of this workshop, I wanted to tell you my own story about stress, because stress is very important with hormone balance, and it can exacerbate a lot of our symptoms. Even when you're going through perimenopause, menopause, stress can exacerbate those symptoms as well. And the other big one is nutrition. I'm not sure if everyone saw that, but for a lot of the causes, you had either extreme dieting, obesity, nutrient deficiency. So nutrition is a large part of those imbalances and conditions as well. So we're going to touch base on both of them now, and we'll just touch on base on them briefly, but this is a great time if you have deeper questions, especially about nutrition. Definitely pop it in the chat, even pop a little hand up. I'll see that and I can stop and answer it as we go, or you can save it to the end. But we'll talk about stress first. So impacts of stress, as you can see on the screen there. Stress-induced conditions are becoming more and more prevalent. So what that means is that conditions that are associated with stress are becoming more common, especially in the society that we live in today. And chronic stress eventually leads to exhaustion and harmful health effects. This is when the body starts to shut down. We start to see some of these symptoms and we start to feel quite down and in the dumps because we're not able to function as we usually would. And then it's really important to know that there's 4 different pillars of stress. And once again, bringing it back to my own story, I never thought I was a stressful person, never would say I feel stressed. But when this table was shown to me, I was able to pick 5 or 6 in each category, which made me be like, oh my goodness, I am stressed and I need to do something about it. So just like we did before, I'd love everyone to take a minute or two, have a look through the list, mentally note and circle which ones you are experiencing right now. And then once again, keep a tally and pop it in the group chat, and I'll give you a few minutes for that and then we'll move on. Yeah, so thank you for doing that. So if you are getting 2 or 3 in each column, then that is quite a strong sign that you are stressed. So that's why it's important that we look at that and look at different ways that stress can be perceived. But then let's talk about what we can do about stress. How can we manage or reduce our stress here? So I'm going to go through 3 main things that we can do to manage stress, but there is a long list of things that we can be doing. And as I mentioned, and as you saw in all those graphs, stress is a really big player in hormone imbalances and hormone conditions. So the first one I would recommend is making sure you get good quality sleep and length of sleep. And how we do that is sometimes by creating a really consistent nighttime routine. We want to be aiming for 7 to 9 hours of sleep at night. For women, it is usually a little higher, so 8 to 9. It's because we're more complex, our body goes through more. And in terms of nighttime routine, this can differ depending on you as a person, but sometimes it's having a bath every night before bed. Sometimes it's reading for an hour before bed. Sometimes it's not watching or having any electronics close by for 2 to 3 hours. It's sometimes having essential oils by the bed, which can all help wind you down so you get a better quality sleep. And also because you're winding down, you end up increasing the length of your sleep as well. So that's really important in managing or reducing stress. And then the next one you'll see there is meditation or breath work. Now, there is a number of different meditation and breath work out there. But the ones I've suggested here is box breathing. It's super easy. It's when we breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. That's why it's called box breathing. I've got some videos on YouTube that you can watch and go through yourself. But otherwise, you always want to try and find 5 minutes to do this and try and do it daily. I have clients sometimes say, oh, I did it in the car. And I was like, well, the car, there's a lot going on. You're having to drive. So I don't think you're really winding down while driving. So it's good to kind of find somewhere quiet, no distractions, take 5 minutes to go through some box breathing. I find that really helpful. Progressive meditation is when we're focusing on all our individual muscles one at a time, and we're releasing any tension or stress in those muscles. So sometimes we can physically hold stress, especially in our neck and our shoulders. So progressive meditation is a great way to kind of release that stress from the body. Once again, only need 5 or 10 minutes. Shavasana at the end of yoga is usually very similar to progressive meditation, and it's a great way to relax. And then the main thing that meditation and breathing does, it is calms our mind, it lowers your blood pressure, and it relaxes your nervous system. And all those things help reduce cortisol and reduce stress. That's really important. And then the third one here, which some people don't tend to think about, is community and a sense of belonging. So making sure you schedule things on a weekly basis with people you love, your friends and family, and do things that make you happy, and you leave feeling energized and fulfilled afterwards. So that's really important as well. You know, being with friends and family or people we love helps with dopamine, helps with oxytocin, and all those hormones help lower all the bad hormones or hormones that we shouldn't have too many of. So that's why that's important as well. And then just while we're here, actually, or before we move on, if you have any questions, feel free to type in while I describe just one thing. With stress as well, I'll try in simple terms how it works on a biological physiological level is that when we're stressed, we have high cortisol. And when we have high cortisol, the cortisol takes over our receptors. And when it takes over those receptors, our hormones can no longer attach to those receptors. And that's when we get the imbalance in hormones. So we get an excess in certain hormones, or we get not enough of others. And that's because the cortisol is taking over the receptors in the body. I mean, there's many different pathways. That's just one pathway. But hopefully it's a nice visualization that when we are stressed, that's what's happening. And that's why we're getting that imbalance. I'll park stress there. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to pop it in the chat. Oh, I think there's one. I've got, sorry, I just saw that. I've got about 12. Okay, great. Any other questions about stress? Otherwise, if you have any, we can wait till the end. Perfect. So the next we'll talk about is nutrition, how we can optimize nutrition. Now, once again, this is a very big area. I could talk for hours on this, but I'm just going to talk about 3 things that I recommend to do to help balance your hormones. Now, the first one is 3 to 5 Brazil nuts daily. Now, I have a lot of clients or friends and family say, oh, I do it weekly. No, we want this to be daily. And this because it helps your thyroid. So Brazil nuts have selenium in them, as well as many other minerals and vitamins, but selenium is the main thing that is essential for your thyroid to function at its max capacity. And it's also very good for fertility, both for males and females as well. So that's my first recommendation, having 3 to 5 Brazil nuts daily. And also I have some clients who get chocolate Brazil nuts. We just want raw Brazil nuts. So we want to keep it whole foods as much as possible and not processed at all. So just whole raw Brazil nuts. The second one, and this might seem quite obvious and quite simple, but it's consume a large variation of fruit, once again, daily. I have, once again, I'll refer back to my own clients. They'll say, oh, I do eat fruit, but when I see their food plan or their food diary, they're having apples and bananas every second day, and there's no variation. All different fruits have all different benefits. One fruit is not the same as another fruit. So your berries are really good for your antioxidants and inflammation. Your citrus fruits are really good for your vitamin C, and also they help with iron intake. Watermelon's really good for perimenopause and menopause. It helps because it's got a lot of hydration in there. So it's important to have a variation of fruit, and I like to say a rainbow of fruit. So try and have 3 to 4 colors on a daily basis, and you're going to really feel a difference with that as well. And once again, we want actual whole foods. We don't want juices or orange juice. We want to try and keep it to fruit picked fresh. And then the third one is consuming a handful of nuts and 1 to 2 tablespoons of seed, once again, daily. So some nuts that might sound familiar: almonds, walnuts, pecans, cashews. Once again, we want raw. We don't want flavored or fried or salted or roasted. We just want raw nuts with those ones. And the same goes with sunflower seeds or chia seeds or sesame seeds. Trying to have 1 to 2 tablespoons of seeds a day. And these help for a number of reasons. So nuts and seeds both have a long list of minerals and vitamins in them. They're really good for the body, but they're also healthy fats. So for women especially, omega-3s are really important. So we get a nice dose of omega-3s in our nuts and our seeds. So that's important to have on a daily basis. That helps with our hormone health, helps with many things. And then also, nuts and seeds is a great thing to snack on. So if you do suffer from blood sugar imbalances, you have sugar cravings, it's a really nice, easy snack to have in that midday or early afternoon, or sometimes even before bed, to help kind of crush those sugar cravings, or if you've got a big appetite as well. And they're the top 3 things that I would take away today with nutrition. Are there any questions about that, or any specific questions about nutrition? No. Perfect. Amazing. Well, that's the chunk of the session done. I just want to briefly talk about how I can help you further if it's something you want to proceed in. But otherwise, we're going to also go back into questions in a moment. So you'll see on this page here, obviously I offer these workshops both to communities and corporates, but I also offer one-to-one sessions, but also small group program or protocols as well, which is more affordable, and it's more self-guided. So it's a self-paced, and self-guided. So you'll see there, the first one is I've got a Nourish Your Thyroid program. So over 6 weeks, we talk about ways that we can restore, support, and nourish our thyroid. That comes down to improving gut health, nutrition, stress management, but also toxins is a big one as well. Removing toxins from your environment to help support the thyroid. You'll see I've got personal training there. I've got a similar balanced blood sugar, etc. You can read through all of those. So if you have any questions about those, once again, just pop in the chat. You can always book a call. My email's there. Feel free to email me if or when you would like to, or you can always stay on the call today and have a chat to me. But otherwise, I want to open the floor to any questions that you might have at all.
Thank you so much, Casey. That was so informative. There's so many good tips in there. And I think you just put them in such a nice little bucket. So easy to understand as well. I love the nutrition ones at the end. I didn't know the Brazilian nuts were so good for us.
They are so
Brazilian.
good for us. I know. I get my friends telling me I eat 3 to 5 Brazil nuts now, and I don't know why. She's like, I just saw you post it, and I continue to do it. And I'm like, yeah, it's the best thing you could do.
I just stopped your screen, Sharon, so we can see each other. Anyone has any questions, anything that you found interesting or never heard about, but you're going to start doing?
And just going back to some of the posts at the very start, while anyone thinks of questions. So a lot of the nutrition tips and the stress management tips will help with perimenopause and menopause symptoms. That's important to know. I know someone asked about that. And then hopefully someone who mentioned the less clinical intervention. yes, there is so much we can do with nutrition. Exercise is really important as well, exercising daily or doing some form of movement. And there's some other lifestyle factors to help as well. But hopefully you've got a bit more insight how to naturally help your hormones today.
Everyone will be eating Brazil nuts
Oh
from
my gosh,
now.
yeah, definitely.
I love the comments.
Yes, perfect, good. That's one thing you take away, that'll be great. Any
Cool.
other questions? Oh.
Is there anything we can do specifically that may improve fertility post the age of 40?
So this is always based individually, but yes, specifically, or I should say generally, the Brazil nuts is really good for fertility, as well as the nuts and seeds, but specifically, and if you head to my website or you Google it, it's called seed cycling. Um, it's a really powerful program to do. And basically you're cycling seeds with your own menstrual cycle. And it really helps with get your period regular, but also helps with your thyroid. And remember from the slideshows, thyroid can be a big issue with getting pregnant. So that would be the next thing I would recommend. And I've seen a huge success with clients is the seed cycling. But there are many things we can do. That'd be the one thing on top of the Brazil nuts that I would really focus on.
Amazing. Another comment, I don't know whether this is true or not, but I heard the best time for a woman to work out is between 1 to 5 p.m. due to our cortisol levels. Is this true?
So there is a spectrum of information out there. And, you know, the main thing is we want to be exercising daily. And if we do that at any time, amazing, tick, tick, tick. Now, there's kind of like a micro knowledge or information about exercising according to your cycle or according into when it suits your body and your circular rhythm throughout the day. So I wouldn't say it's not true. I would say it'd be specific on the person, not specific to women, and also specific if you're wanting to get that micro about it, would be about also matching it to your cycle as well.
Mhm.
I hope
Yeah.
that helps.
Are there foods to help with menstrual migraines?
So once again, you're going to be like, oh, I'm repeating myself. The nuts, seeds, and Brazil nuts really do help with menstrual migraines. Remember the also omega-3s or healthy fat, so fish. So fatty, oily fish, so salmon, mackerel, sardines are really good ones as well to help with that. But a lot of the time, menstrual migraines is numerous factors at play. So not only is it nutrition, big part is stress. And also maybe not exercising as much as possible. So remembering we want to kind of touch base in the 4 quadrants, which is like stress management, nutrition, exercise, and then other lifestyle factors, which we didn't touch on today, but you want to try and tick off in all of those 4. Thank you.
Amazing. Are there any more questions, ladies? Anything that you would like to know? There are a lot of thank yous in the comments. Amazing. I'm really happy that it resonated with you ladies. And if you ever want to ask any questions from Jay, you can find her on Instagram or drop her an email as well. And this has been so, so great. Thank you so much for your time, Casey. And I really, really appreciate it. And it's just been a wonderful session. So I hope we can do more as well.
Yes, no, thank you so much for having me. I hope everyone found the information great. Yes, and yeah, reach out if you want to learn more or hear more. I love talking about it. But otherwise, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon. Thanks, ladies.